Crews on the fire lines in eastern Kentucky have extra help today as dozens of wildfires burn out of control. Chris Bailey's tracking the latest conditions and find out about the special help from above.
Attorneys for an elderly Clark County man say he should be at home, not in jail, but prosecutors say they have evidence on why an 84-year-old could be a danger.
You see weigh stations up and down the interstate, but you may be shocked how rarely they're actually used. We have a preview to a WKYT investigation.
WKYT News starts now with breaking news.
Good afternoon. Within the last 15 minutes, we have learned some new developments in the case against the accused drunk driver in Lexington who hit and killed 2 people over the weekend.
26-year-old Suzanne Whitlow has been officially booked into the Fayette County Detention Center. Whitlow has been in the hospital since Saturday's accident on South Upper Street. Police say Whitlow hit and killed Louisville Metro Police Officer Timothy Moore at a UK employee. While she's been taken and booked into the jail, she has already been returned to a hospital for more medical care, and we will keep you updated on that story.
More help on the way for firefighters dealing with wildfires in southern and eastern Kentucky. Governor Bevin issued a state of emergency because of the fires this afternoon.
The Kentucky Division of Forestry says there are 38 active fires that have burned 3,800 acres. The Kentucky National Guard has been called up to help fight the wildfires. The Guard is sending 3 Army helicopters to help. 2 of the choppers will help fire suppression by dumping 600 gallons of water. We begin with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey, who is tracking fire conditions.
Yeah, we've been getting in obviously on the dry weather, guys. We've been setting the stage for this for a long time. Unfortunately, all this dry, warm weather that we've had for the fall is catching up to us into the mountains of eastern Kentucky, especially. Yesterday, we had smoke on this cam, and now just over the past few minutes, we've been seeing a little more smoke showing up on this Jackson cam coming out of southeastern Kentucky. This is an area that is typically plagued by forest fires during the fall season. Just depends on exactly how dry, and you get this really dry weather and those fires can get out of control. That's what we're dealing with right now, southeastern Kentucky. So on your Defender Radar Network, here's where we're seeing the bulk of the fires into southeastern Kentucky. Now you've got a little bit of light rain coming down the Mountain Parkway. The steadier rains are off to your west and northwest, and that includes the Richmond area to the north into Lexington, south side of town with some soggy stuff, north side not so much, and then down the Mountain Parkway. We'll keep an eye on that as it works its way toward the south and southeast. Something else I'm going to keep an eye on. Front is still technically just to our north. So you see this little batch of what looks like some light showers trying to pop here across the Cummings and Cincinnati area. That may eventually turn into another broken line of some rain working in from northwest to southeast. Watch that on the future radar as we go through the evening. Notice how another little band tries to pop there into parts of central Kentucky. Now, this isn't going to be a lot of rain. It may just give firefighters a little helping hand. I don't think it's going to extinguish all those fires that are out there across southeastern Kentucky. Guys, when I come back in just a few minutes, we will look longer range and see what the rain chances are looking like over the next 7 days.
Thank you, Chris. And for a second day in a row, some schools in Pike County were closed because of the smoke from all the wildfires. There was no class today at Shelby Valley High School, Valley Elementary School, and Dorton Elementary School. Students at those schools were dismissed early yesterday because of the smoke. We learned today that the names of 3 men who died in a fiery crash in Franklin County. The sheriff says the crash was caused when a van blew a tire on Interstate 64 near the Shelby County line. The coroner says 46-year-old Julio Ramirez, 40-year-old Santiago Lopez, and 28-year-old Jose Lobos were killed. Police say the driver survived the crash. State officials are concerned about the amount of time that weigh stations are open in Kentucky. Because of the lack of vehicle enforcement officers and inspectors, weigh stations are only open 29% of the time in Kentucky. That averages out to about 14 days a month. If the weigh stations are closed, the state cannot collect fines for unpaid taxes and, most importantly, cannot catch drivers operating illegally.
They pattern us. They know when we're out. They know when the scale facilities are open.
You're supposed to get from point A to point B the best, safest, quickest way you can. If you're going around them, you're hiding something.
Amber's at the live desk now with our investigative reporter Miranda Combs with more on her story you can see tonight at 6. Amber?
Sam, thank you. Miranda, this is a story you've kind of been working on for a while, or thinking about at least. This conversation came up back in the spring, kind of got you thinking about it.
We were interviewing the chairman of Kentucky's Trucking Association, and he brought it up because it's also the compliant truck companies that are concerned about this too and want the weigh stations open because they want a level playing field with everyone that's out on the road.
Sure, you heard in that soundbite there that the truckers that are doing something wrong oftentimes pattern when those weigh stations are open.
Right, and the more they're closed, obviously, the more they don't even have to go around. They go right past them. And in fact, the weigh station that we hung out at down in London on the southbound side of I-75, they said in September 40,000 trucks passed by that weigh station. They were only able to check 250 of them. So that tells you what a big problem they have.
And when you think about that, the state says they're actually losing millions of dollars by not collecting fines and taxes from all those non-compliant truckers.
Because remember, all of the money that they collect with these taxes and fines goes straight to the roadways, goes to maintenance on the roads and the bridges, and that affects all of us. So coming up at 6, we'll talk about how they're going to correct this problem, or at least start moving in the direction of correcting it, because the numbers have got so historically low with the number of people that are actually working at these weigh stations. It's going to take a while to pull out of it.
There's so many of those trucks on the roads out there with us. Miranda will see that story coming up tonight. Sam?
Amber, thank you. A Kentucky teenager with epilepsy was stuffed in a locker at school while others stood by and posted video on the incident on social media. As WKYT's Andrea Walker tells us, the boy's mother is now speaking out, saying her son was targeted by his own teammates.
I was across the street from the school when it happened.
It was an overwhelming feeling of hopelessness for Nancy Lohman.
I felt that I couldn't protect my son.
Her 15-year-old son, Logan Sanders, was excited to start school this year, but that all changed one day in late September, leading up to a Woodford County JV football game.
It was one student that actually put him in the locker, but it was several students that videoed the incident.
Video of Logan being stuffed into a locker was sent out on Snapchat and posted on Instagram, but later deleted. It's a moment both mother and son don't want to relive.
I don't think that I want to, and I don't think that he wants to see it either.
It took school officials about 30 minutes to cut out the combination lock and free the freshman student. The superintendent for Woodford County Schools did release the following statement about the bullying investigation, saying, quote, "Once that was completed, the student who committed the offense was given strong consequences for his behavior. Before this incident occurred, there had been no prior incidents between the two students."
Stand up and speak out. Don't give up.
Nancy knows there are other parents who stay silent even when their son or daughter is bullied on a daily basis. She wants to start working with the Woodford County Human Rights Commission. While she calls her son's story a daily struggle, Nancy feels she needs to help the victims who stay quiet.
There's kids that can't talk about it or that won't talk about it. Be their voice.
Andrea Walker, WKYT.
And the student at the center of this bullying case served 4 days suspension and then was sent to an alternative school for another 30 days. A big night for a legendary country music singer. We'll tell you about the honor for the one and only Dolly Parton in about 12 minutes on WKYT News at 4:30.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
We continue to see a little weak cold front right on top of the area, though it's knocking the temperatures way down compared to the same point yesterday and the day before. Current readings out there dropping into the low and mid 60s into northern Kentucky, still 70s the farther south and southeast that we go. That front has a little rain with it. Not a ton, but it has some, and we've had a whopping 0.05 of an inch of rain here at the station on Winchester Road. A little more on the south side of town. I think we got another little gusty band of some showers to go through over the next 3 or 4 hours. Right on top is central Kentucky, I-64 and south, southeastern parts of the state. You need the rain. You got the forest fires that are breaking out. We're trying to get you some, and at least some gusty rains are on the way in shower form. Is it going to be enough to put out all those fires? Probably not. Can it put out some? Yeah, because you're getting some downpours out of this. Harrodsburg, Danville into Stanford, the Garrett County area from Richmond down toward Berea, Irvin, Estill County getting in on some of the rain as well. Boy, it sounds good, doesn't it, to hear rain on the rooftop for the first time in a while. Lake Reba over toward Richmond Center. Some of the rain. South side of Lexington has picked up more rain than the north side. Didn't pick up a whole lot up around Masterson Station into the Kentucky Horse Park area. Get down the Mountain Parkway, Powell County, on the Estill County line, some rain. Notice how it tails off a little bit the farther southeast that we go, and here's the area that we'll continue to focus on to try to get in on some of those heavier rains. Front is just off to our north, has a seasonal brand of chill behind it. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that I would call cold about this air coming in. Is it chilly? Okay, for the time of year, it's about where we should be. A mix of sun and clouds tomorrow. It will be windy. May have a touch of frost out there Saturday morning, sunny and pleasant. You're going to say, okay, frost is cold, right? Yeah, but it's November. You should be getting a little touch of frost in the mornings. Into Sunday afternoon, another great day, normal temperatures across most of central and eastern Kentucky. Here is the hour-by-hour forecast now. Let's walk you through the coming weekend, at least the majority of that weekend. 7 o'clock this evening. Notice how the rains are firing back up again, 64, and points to the south. That's the area that desperately needs each and every drop. So we'll work on that. The front is just a little later getting into town today. And tomorrow morning, notice how the model keeps a little bit of cloud cover around. So we're going to fight some clouds around into the afternoon tomorrow. It's going to be one of those days to where the sun, the clouds are kind of fighting it out a little bit. Temperatures in that type of a setup may be all over the place, from the low and mid 50s in northern Kentucky to near 60, if not low 60s on the Tennessee border counties. We go through your Friday evening. 40s are going to show up as soon as the sun sets. It's that type of a setup with dry air that is in place. Into Saturday morning, here's your little touch of frost into much of central and eastern Kentucky. Noontime on Saturday. A lot of 50s that will be around. This model says, I don't think we make 60 on Saturday. I'm going to say, you know what, model? I think we do. I think we'll hit 60 to 65, and then that quick drop in temperatures again as the sun sets. Rolling our way into Sunday morning. Some mid and upper 30s will be noted into much of central and eastern Kentucky, and we just kind of do it all over again. And yes, do want to remind you, set the clocks back 1 hour tomorrow night before we go to bed. Change the smoke detector batteries, carbon monoxide detector batteries as well. Get that extra hour of sleep, and why not? 30s for lows, 60s for highs. Sounds like a perfect first weekend of November to me, folks. Into Election Day, there's a small chance for a late day shower. A little better shot, I think, Wednesday and Thursday toward the end of next week. But you look at that forecast, and yeah, we may spend a day or two early next week, 65 to 70. That's still fairly common for early November.
This weekend sounds more typical of what November usually is. Am I right on that?
It is. And you know, it's been so long since we've had real normal weather around here. And it may only hang out for a couple of days, but I'm going to take it while it lasts.
Hey, and by the way, I was in northern Kentucky today. I feel cheated. Their leaves are beautiful up there.
Really?
And we don't, they're very vibrant. Not here.
Wait, you didn't tweet me a picture?
I didn't, I'm sorry. I was so mad about it, I just forgot.
All right, I'm blocking you now.
Thanks, Chris.
She was nominated for 5 CMAs for the 50th anniversary of the CMA Awards. When we return here on WKYT, we're catching up with Maren Morris.
The attorney for an 84-year-old Clark County man charged in a crash that killed 2 people wants his client released from jail.
James Pelfrey was in court today for the first time since that deadly crash back in June. His attorney asked the judge for house arrest, but the prosecution argued against it. WKYT's Victor Puente was in the courtroom for the hearing.
Earlier today, we learned more from police about why they pursued charges against James Pelfrey. He's charged with killing 2 women in a crash earlier this year. It happened back in June on the Winchester bypass. According to Winchester police, Pelfrey told them he was blinded by bright lights and crashed into 2 cars waiting at a red light. But police say Pelfrey was traveling too fast for the road conditions, and that's why they presented their case to the county attorney. 62-year-old Sarah Helfrich and 35-year-old Juanetta Mitchell were in one of those cars, and both were killed. Last week, a grand jury indicted Pelfrey on 2 charges of second-degree manslaughter and 1 count of second-degree assault. Today, his attorney asked Judge Jean Chenault Logue for home incarceration. He said the 84-year-old has given up his license. The prosecutors said they disagree with that move because Pelfrey has been in 2 more accidents since the crash that killed those women.
He was in 2 accidents. One of them involved actually leaving. He killed 2 people in this crash. The evidence is going to show that his conduct was extremely wanton, and we believe for the safety of the community that his bond should stand the way it's set.
Judge Logue didn't rule on that request this morning. She said she'd have to consider it and release her decision at a later time. In Clark County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Pelfrey will be back in court December 1st for a pretrial conference.
One of Nashville's biggest parties is in the books. Some of the world's hottest music acts gathered for the 50th Annual Country Music Association Awards.
Our Deanne Stevens caught up with one of the standout stars of the night. She's out and about in Nashville with Maren Morris.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. We are here in Nashville for the 50th anniversary of the CMA Awards. It was a big night last night, especially for this young lady. Marin Morris is with us. 5 nominations. Holy cow. We were thinking, like this time last year, Marin, who? And then all of a sudden, you just have exploded, my dear.
It's crazy. It's been such an amazing year, and this is my favorite week of the year, so it's just been so wonderful.
You said that you grew up watching the CMAs. What is it like now to be a part of that, sitting there, listening, watching the awards, being right in the middle of it all?
It's really like a dream because, you know, you're sitting feet away from like Dolly Parton and Randy Travis and all these people that I've grown up listening to, Vince Gill. It's just crazy. It's like all these people who have now become my peers that I've idolized my entire life. It's incredible.
I mean, where do you go from here? What does the next 12 months look like for Marin Morris?
Good question. I'm going on my first headline tour at the beginning of 2017, and yeah, that's going to be amazing just to like see the fans, and we're doing like a little club tour, and it'll be such a great way to play like longer sets and really get to know our fan base. So I feel like it's going to be a good start to the year.
Well, absolutely it is. Congratulations to you. Best of luck for the upcoming year. Marin Morris with us here in Nashville for the CMA Awards. I'm Deanne Stevens, out and about. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Dan. And she mentioned Dolly Parton, who received the Willie Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award at the 50th Annual Country Music Association Awards last night in Nashville. Parton was honored as a trailblazer in the industry. She's won 9 CMA awards, including Entertainer of the Year. Garth Brooks won the top honor this year. It was his 5th win for Entertainer of the Year.
This won't surprise many people. Taylor Swift is the highest paid woman in music. Forbes.com reports the singer-songwriter made $170 million over the past year, largely from her 1989 world tour. Second place went to Adele, whose $80.5 million came mostly from album sales, and Madonna's Rebel Heart tour helped the Material Girl place 3rd with $76.5 million.
Holy cow! The Cubs won the World Series and broke the internet.
An all-Chicago edition of Take a Look at This is next on WKYT News at 4:30.
So it's interesting, you said earlier that the leaves up in northern Kentucky were really alive and vibrant with colors versus down here where it's a little duller.
Much brighter, just really pretty, and then here, like you said, just very dull. So, Chris Bailey, I'm going to put that question to you on why that is.
You know what? Our leaves are already gone. So they have no choice around here but to be a little on the dull side. But I would imagine that has a lot to do with just the summer pattern and how we were a little drier in northern Kentucky than we were across parts of central Kentucky. Then everybody turned dry into the fall. Current temperatures are cooler in the north. It's raining in Lexington, at least parts of the city, over the past hour. 65 degrees London. We've dropped it to 74, and that number will continue to drop from north to south as rain begins to creep on in. Southeastern Kentucky, you need the rain. Obviously, we know that. We've got the fires that are burning out of control. This was not expected to be a big drink of water, and it's not a big drink of water. Northern Kentucky, watch how we get one more broken band of some showers trying to pop. That's actually along the front. That will slide its way onto the south as we go through the next few hours. But you've got one little band of rain heading into southeastern Kentucky. It's decreasing just a little bit. I think we'll fire up another one right on top of 64 over the next hour as all of that continues to slide toward the south and the southeast. And we have wet roads in Lexington. Let's see how that's impacting traffic. Here's live drive traffic with Officer Don.
A couple of collisions, including an overturned vehicle at Pace Creek and Crawley. That turned out to be an injury crash there. Also a new one on Van Awards just past Beaver Creek. It's between Richmond Road and Beaver Creek. One lane is blocked there. At least 2 cars involved in that crash. And we still have the incident at Bryan Station in Anniston with a pedestrian struck. Drive times this afternoon to Paris. We're looking normal on Paris Pike. Nothing major on Versailles Road past the airport. We're good into Woodford County. Back here in the studio.
Officer Don, thank you. It was something. We rushed out of here last night to see it. After 108 years, the curse is over. The Chicago Cubs won the World Series last night in dramatic fashion.
It took a while to do it. The Cubs win set social media on fire. Well, today we have a World Series edition of Take a Look at This. One Twitter user got eerily close to his prediction in a 2-year-old tweet. On November 4th of 2014, Twitter user @RaysFangio made an impressive prediction. that in the 2016 World Series, the Cubs would face the Indians in extra innings after tying in Game 7.
Well, that's pretty cool, right?
Pretty creepy, too, because that tweet also predicted the apocalypse, saying the world would end with the end of the game. Well, here we are live, so thankfully, most of the tweet's predictions came true, but not all of them.
Definitely, thank goodness. Speaking of coming full circle, one Twitter user's grandpa is making good on a 32-year-old promise thanks to the Cubs. 32 years ago, the fan put a beer in his fridge, vowing not to drink it until the Cubs were champs. Well, decades later, he got to make good. You don't actually see him drink it, which after that many years, it is probably for the best that he didn't, but pretty cool.
That is. And understandably, a lot of Cub fans may have skipped work yesterday to party ahead of the big game, but don't worry, the Cubs got you covered. The team's Twitter account tweeted out super official excuse notes for all the fans, excusing them from work, class, well, pretty much all responsibilities. Now, hopefully fans got a chuckle out of the mock letter instead of taking it too seriously, because it likely will not actually get you out of trouble. But a lot of people, including here in Kentucky, stayed up. It was way into the morning hours. We finally knew what was going to happen, and so it was exciting.
Our very own Mike Byer is a huge Cubs fan, so he is
went up there, didn't he?
Living the dream right now, that's for sure. All right, stick with us. Here's what we're working on for you now at 5 o'clock.